It's very important for members of parliament to remember that they are not ladies and lords over the citizens of South Africa, but are rather public servants who report to the citizens of South Africa. This will help reduce the level of excitement they seem to be plagued by during sessions such as the State of the Nation address and their other debates. One of the worst ones from this year was a statement by MP Sylvia Lucas. Before we get into her unsympathetic statement, I'm Katlamwari. I welcome you to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. Please click the subscribe button and the like button below, join our channel membership or donate, and share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Ik heb nou toegang tot de RDP's. Loadshedding is hier het einde van die aarde niet. En ik, president, is een van die mensen wat voel, zodra jij van loadshedding praat, dan beginnen hulle om jou te saboteren. Ons zal moet iets doen aan die sabotasie. Ons zal moet iets doen aan die sabotasie.
Ms. Lucas, perhaps because the ANC has allowed South Africans to experience load shedding for 17 years, you think it's normal. You think it's to be accepted by citizens and it's not the end of the world. But let me remind you, Ms. Lucas, that load shedding has been the end of the world to a 3-year-old girl who died after her breathing machine reportedly could not function due to load shedding.
A Johannesburg family lost their 3-year-old daughter as a result of a power cut. Cowan Eaton's daughter was on an oxygen machine, but an inverter died during a power cut and the family could not keep the oxygen running.
She was ill. She was in hospital from 2 weeks ago, Monday, and she stayed until the next Monday, and then she was discharged. But she needed to still be on oxygen, but we have the oxygen machine at home, and we also have a backup tank. But obviously with load shedding, the machine obviously goes off when it's load shedding, and then we have to switch her over onto the oxygen tank. Obviously, it's a nightmare constantly juggling, because sometimes we go off like 4 times a day, and sometimes we don't come back on for hours or even days, you know. So we just want something to change, and we're also worried about the future of other South Africans' lives.
Load shedding has been the end of the world to many ill citizens who cannot be well taken care of in their homes or in hospitals because of load shedding. Load shedding has been the end of the world to the 64% of small township businesses that have to close their doors during the 2, 4, 6, 12 hours of load shedding.
Well, despite the total number of liquidations falling by 13.4% in October, 136 businesses still shut their doors. Business restructuring experts say the leading contributor to business failure continues to be load shedding, which recently went back to stage 6 over the weekend, leaving companies that have been resilient turning to credit to stay afloat.
Load shedding has been the end of the world to the chisanyamas and the butcheries whose meat is rotting because they can't keep it cold, the hair salons that can't treat clients without electricity, the small businesses who need to incur the extra cost of a generator or close the doors due to load shedding. Load shedding has been the end of the world to the 66% of business owners who have had to cut jobs because of load shedding. The end of the world to the people who sit unemployed since the businesses they used to work for have closed because of load shedding. Load shedding has been the end of the world to the citizens of South Africa who have been victims of crime because of load shedding.
This 50-year-old virulent businessman says he's hurt. He has been forced to shut down his business, which was founded decades ago. The businessman says his place has been robbed a number of times, all during load shedding.
My business has been in existence in Verulam for the past 36 years. And the reasons for me selling off my store was due to the high crime rate in Verulam, more especially during load shedding. So over the 2023, my store was either broken into or armed robbed 7 times, 4 of which was during the load shedding.
Neighborhood Watch and private security companies now beef up their teams during load shedding to counter the increase in crime incidents.
Yeah, well, we do have several complaints during load shedding hours. One of the most common is housebreaking. When load shedding, especially if it goes into longer than the normal scheduled hours of 2 to 4 hours, we have housebreaking that increases drastically. So on a daily basis, we are dealing with 7 to 8 housebreakings. Trespassing is a common problem. Theft of copper pipes is a huge problem in our area of operation, because there's no lighting, there's no external beams that work without batteries.
8 kilometers away from Verulam is Inanda Township. The area has the highest number of rape and murder incidents in the country. The local community policing forum says most of these incidents take place during load shedding.
We do patrolling around the area, but when it is taking place, maybe in the middle of night or early in the morning, because some of the people are working, our colleagues, we can't manage to just do something on that. That is where most of people that are being lose their lives through this load shedding, where they are being shot dead by these criminals during the load shedding.
Good morning, Dudu. Not a rosy picture at all. As you mentioned, Police Minister Bheki Cele himself conceding that load shedding is impacting SAPs and their ability to keep our communities safe. Just this past week, here in the community of Athlone in Cape Town, neighbours are still traumatized and reeling because a dear friend and neighbour was attacked, murdered in his own home on his own premises as he was approaching alleged robbers on his property. Unfortunately, we're hearing anecdotal accounts from residents here in Athlone that this is pretty common and has been quite common, especially when there are power cuts. I'm now standing with Ridwan Matthews, a home security expert, to talk us through what they have noticed. Ridwan, what are the trends during load shedding patterns? What have you seen in terms of crime in the area?
So during the escalation of the various stages of load shedding, we've seen a massive spike in loitering in all areas around the Western Cape, and that's posing a serious challenge because now you have opportunistic criminals just waiting for load shedding so that they can pounce on residents.
Many people have lost their jobs or promotion opportunities because of being late to work due to load shedding. Many people have been injured or killed due to accidents on the roads due to traffic lights not working because of load shedding. So what does all of this tell us? Is that not the end of the world to these innocent citizens? To politicians that vomit without thinking clearly like MP Sylvia did, please guard your mouth before you hurt the people who you govern, the people who pay your salaries. Common citizens are seeing how deadly load shedding is, yet you, a member of the governing party, believes that it's a small matter. Maybe you should move from your role and give it to a citizen who lives, endures, and understands the grave effects of load shedding. A citizen who will care enough to do something about it. For too long, the members of government and parliament have elevated themselves above the citizens of South Africa. For too long, they have forgotten that they get to be sheltered from load shedding and its effects because of money coming from the citizens of South Africa. I ask you again to please vote out this disrespectful, demeaning, and dangerous ANC government. Join us next week as we explore the various other parties' manifestos as we decide who to vote for in the 2024 elections. I know that we have been conditioned to believe that members of government or parliament are kings and queens who do nothing for us with our monies, but simply loot our money and still insult us. So I thought it would be worthwhile to remind us that politicians of good standards do exist, and that's who we should be looking for as we prepare to vote. Please look at this.
We have a very good public service. Sometimes people argue that Singapore's civil servants are so good that we don't need ministers who are so competent or experienced. The civil servants know what to do. They will make proposals, they'll put up papers. You just have to say yes or no, and Singapore will continue running smoothly. It's a crazy argument. The civil service didn't create itself out of thin air. We have a good civil service precisely because we've had a good political leadership who have built up a world-class civil service. Recruitment, management, policies, training, scholarships, building a team, imbuing them with the ethos to serve, shaping an instrument which serves Singapore well. When you don't notice them, that means they are doing a good job. In a crisis, you notice that it's because of them and the government that we're able to come through. So the civil servants are excellent, but they can only deliver good results because they are led by competent ministers who understand the issues, who make good decisions. If the minister is not on top of his job, if the perm secs and the DSs and the directors and the junior officers know that this is a minister who depends on the draft he's given to read his speech, the minister is finished and Singapore is in big trouble. It's like an orchestra may have the best musicians in the world, but without a good conductor, it cannot produce great music.
South African politicians learn from competent, committed politicians, ministers, and public servants from other countries. Have a goal to proudly perform for South Africa. Next time, remember that you as comrades are not appointed to give speeches that are better than the next party's speech. You are not there to prove to each other who can talk better than the other. You are public servants appointed to serve the public. Before you rise and talk, consider if what you want to say is beneficial for the citizens of South Africa. Don't use the platform and resources afforded to you by the citizens, our tax, to mock and demean the very citizens who pay for your fancy life. Until next time, I'm Katlego Moagi. This is Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades.